What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the shop. I think it's important for us to every once in a while look back at those old projects we used to do just to make sure that we stay humble, but at the same time, maybe to give ourselves a little bit more self-confidence. It's easy for us to start working on something, really beat ourselves up over how it looks, but maybe if we go back and look at those very first projects we made, we see the mistakes we made, we see the things that we learned along the way, it gives us a little bit of self-confidence. And then we could take that confidence and use that into our future projects. So today, let's go back and look at some of my very first woodworking projects, way back, some of them. And I'll tell you, what did I learn? What mistakes did I make? If I were to do this now, how would I have tackled it? This could be fun, or this could be embarrassing. I've had tools in my hands for my entire life. Now, my very first woodworking project was, when I was probably 8 or 9 years old. I got a wood burning kit and used to burn signs and pictures and that kind of stuff. I don't know if you can give a wood burning kit to a kid that's 8 years old now. I hope so. Don't burn down the house, kids, please. But I think my very first full woodworking project was this pine car derby car thing or whatever that I made. So I made this about 30 years ago. Has my name on the bottom, 4th grade. I see my handwriting has not improved whatsoever. What I realized is after I made this, it was too light. It was much smaller than all the rest of the cars that kids made that were just in the kits. So I took some fishing sinkers and made little people that I could stick in there. I made a little fishing sinker engine here that I had to file down. I probably shouldn't have breathed that much lead in that I was filing down. I can't believe my Lego windshield is still on there. That kind of surprises me too. So this thing was pretty cool. It did not win. It didn't even come close to winning. However, it was the coolest looking car. What was most important though is it taught me that I could make something completely by myself with no guidance, no help, but I could figure out a way to make things. Like a lot of you move out, you live in your own place, and then you start to do a little bit more work. You put up a wall in your house, you do some crown molding, that kind of stuff. I took some pallets and I made some tables out of pallets. But all this stuff was nails and screws, and working with wood, I don't know that I would really consider it the classic woodworking, as in no nails, no screws, really working with glue and joinery. That's the thing that I really didn't have any experience with. In 2014, I saw a YouTube video by Mark Spagnolo where he was applying finish to a humidor project that he made. And it was awe-inspiring. I just couldn't believe that somebody could go into their garage and make something like that. It's just unbelievable. He had plans available, but I couldn't afford those because at the time, all I had was a $99 Craftsman table saw, a really cheap pair of chisels, and a handsaw. I had no other tools, and I couldn't afford to buy the tools and then buy the plans. Even though I'm sure the plans were absolutely worth every penny, I literally had no pennies to spend. So I watched that video over and over and over again. I am probably responsible for about 1,000 views on that video, but I just stared at things, little aspects of it, and said, I have to build this. I have no use for this humidor whatsoever, but I have to build it. Here it is, not pretty, but I'm very proud of it because it's my first classic woodworking project. It took me months to make this, and it wasn't really the construction that took so long. It was the lack of funds. It's made out of walnut with wingay striping that goes all around all the corners. On the inside, we have Spanish cedar and then a divider with some leather on the ends of it, the humidor gauge, and then the humidifier itself, which I lost over time. The hinges are brass Brusso hinges, really nice stuff, so it closes very nicely. This is the project that I learned about tolerances and making sure that things precisely fit with one another, or you attempt to make them precisely fit. I guess that's a better way to say it. I learned a lot of techniques when making this. The outside is walnut. The lid here is MDF veneered with walnut. Well, I had never veneered anything in my life, so I had to figure out, well, how the heck do you do that? This is the first time I did classic joinery for anything. I did rabbet joints for all the corners, and I thought that was absolutely fascinating, that you could do something like that. I didn't really know anything besides a butt joint and a miter joint, and that's what you do when you are doing construction. So a rabbet joint was like, I did a liner of Spanish cedar on the inside. Oh, still smells delicious. I was also proud of the hinges that I did. Now, when I'm looking at this, I definitely see quite a bit of gaps in there that I would not tolerate now. Hey, first time I ever installed hinges like this, so, you know, I got to give myself a little bit of leeway with that. What really went wrong was the finish. That's where I learned the most, really what not to do. And then I also learned that finishing is this giant marketing scheme that confuses people, and that's a shame. In the video, I watched Mark do a lacquer finish. Well, I don't have a spray or anything like that. So I looked up lacquer, and I found that lacquer is really just a type of varnish. Well, you know it's another type of varnish? Polyurethane. Well, they've got to be equivalent then, right? They're both varnishes. So I slathered this with some General Finishes Armor Seal gloss because it's a humidor, you got to make it shiny, right? I tried to treat it like he did in the video of a lacquer finish, where you would put the coats on there, sand it, and just do layers of it. So I probably have 437 layers of polyurethane on this. So, well, it's definitely waterproof. I'll give it that. I will tell you this though, the finishing process on this set the tone for how I tackle finishes even today, which is don't complicate things. If you go onto some random web forum, you'll see that they still have web forums. People go, here's my favorite finishing method. I'm gonna put 1 cup of this and then 1/3 of this, and then I'm gonna mix this and I'm gonna sand it down and I'm gonna apply it, and then I'm gonna do all these crazy things. And you go, whoa, 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 whoa. If your finishing method has more than like 2 or 3 steps, it's probably a little bit too complicated. Sometimes you may need that for a specialty item. A lot of times you probably don't. After the humidor, my second woodworking project was this. I kind of said, well, we either go big or go home. This is a dartboard cabinet that I made from a set of plans by the Woodsmith shop. If those plans are still available, I'll put a link down in the description. But I saw a picture of it and I said, ooh, I really like that. I like the craftsman style of it. I have no idea how to make that. Well, let's give it a shot. The whole thing's made out of white oak. Now, I wasn't really sure where to get wood like that. So I ordered some online and I bought a lunchbox planer. The same planer you see me use today, my old DeWalt planer, is the one I bought. I didn't own a joiner at all, so once I got it, I had to try to figure out a way to get the boards as flat as possible, knowing that I didn't have all the tools that would make that process much easier. It has 4 different types of molding. We have crown molding, we have this bead molding that goes across here, we have a cove, and then we have a base molding down here. Out of all the moldings, this cove molding I bought at a local store. All the rest of the molding I made. I used hand-forged knobs, which are super expensive, but I just thought it gave it the perfect look because I wanted this to look like it came from a pub. And then I used some dark hinges that I believe I got from Horton's. On the inside, ta-da! The back of it is just a piece of pine paneling that I got at the local home center. My son did that. He was about 5 years old or so. He used some milk paint to paint the whole thing, and then he took a little paintbrush with some brown dye and got it into the nooks and crannies to kind of give it an aged look. And then there was a lot of the final touches. We've got molding here at the top and the bottom that has magnets that holds the door locked. We have a little block here for our darts to go into. And then a chalk tray here that has a groove that's carved in it. So you can set your chalk on there, and then some molding down at the bottom. We made some chalkboards. These are hardboard that is painted with chalkboard paint. And hey, it worked pretty good. So overall, beautiful project for me. Really proud of it. There's a lot of stuff that I learned, and there's a lot of mistakes too. I demonstrated a lot of patience in building it, but not a lot of patience with myself. There's definitely some big mistakes with this. I can tell that I did not sand this very good, and really it came down to I was afraid to make mistakes, and when I did make a mistake, I beat myself up over it. So then whenever it came to doing certain things, I was terrified of going that extra step to make it extra nice, because what if I make a mistake on it? So there's some areas I did not sand very well because, well, again, I figured I wasn't doing a very good job of it. The whole thing was finished with General Finishes dark brown dye stain. This is where I fell in love with dye stains, and I like them way better than traditional stains. And then I went to apply finish, and I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone and I was going back to the humidor project. I felt comfortable in applying Armor Seal because I just did that with the humidor. So I applied it to the whole thing, but this took me a while to make. And I was doing it in a basement that had some poor lighting and pretty humid. And what I found was that my can of Armor Seal was going bad. The humidity was not letting it dry, and this just became this super tacky mess. I was pretty upset. Not knowing what to do, I did some research and found that shellac is a universal binder. So it kind of sticks to everything and everything sticks to it. So what I did was I sanded this whole thing down, applied shellac over it, and then got a bunch of those spray cans of lacquer and then lacquered the crap out of it. So the finish is a little bit thicker than what I want, but it doesn't look bad. I'll say that, it doesn't look bad. It's just a little bit thicker than the hand close to the wood feel that I really wanted it to be. I did a terrible job at hinges, and what I learned is hinges can be really tricky and really frustrating. I had to try to get those doors lined up, and it was tough. I just didn't do a very good job on the hinges. And even to this day, this door over here wants to just swing closed on its own. So I have to take a piece of twine and tie the door to the wall so that it stays open. There's probably a good amount of people that would look at this and go, wow, that's fantastic for a first project. There's also probably a good amount of people that would look at that and go, I could have built that whenever I was 10 years old. That looks like garbage. It doesn't really matter. What matters is me and my progression and what I learned. And what I learned was I can make something that doesn't just fall apart and blow up. What I learned was some pretty cool finishing techniques. I found a love for using dye stain compared to using regular stain. I found that I could do a lot of stuff with a router that I never knew that was possible. And I built a lot of confidence in making my own molding and also in my joinery. The biggest thing I learned from this project and the humidor project was to cut myself some slack. I was so terrified to use nice wood. What if I make a mistake? What if I cut it and that's it? I don't have any more, and now what am I gonna do? And because of that, I really put a lot of pressure on myself. I beat myself up whenever I made mistakes, and all that led to was making more mistakes. Now, at this point in my woodworking journey, I make mistakes every day. I make the wrong cuts. You know what? I don't even sweat it. I don't get mad at myself. I don't get mad at the project at all. I just go, oh well, and kind of take that Bob Ross philosophy of, well, it was supposed to be that way, and just move forward. So I'm really proud of how I've progressed, but I don't think that I would have noticed that without going back and looking at these older projects and seeing where was I at then compared to where I'm at now. At the same time though, if you are a new maker and you're frustrated, you wish you were doing better, cut yourself a little bit of slack and remember, focus on learning and having fun, and you're going to be fantastic. In a couple years' time, you're going to be amazed at how far you progressed. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing to the channel. Until we meet again, get in your shop and build something awesome.